The leader, War Admiral, 2.5 for 3.
Next trade is in the center of the racetrack. The Admiral Sloop drawing alongside again.
War Emblem is still there. War Emblem is pulling away. He's got another gear. Damn, the French thing coming the Derby. Wheel away takes command. Lionheart is all heart. Smarty Jones is all out. And here's the first undefeated winner of the Kentucky Derby since Seattle School of 1977.
Don't you love this game? America's greatest race is just 11 days away. It's time for the morning workout show presented by TwinSpires.com. Under the historic Twin Spires of Churchill Downs, a gorgeous Monday afternoon, temperatures in the mid-50s, and the main track is fast. So let's take a look at the headlines, and it's all about the Monday workouts. By my standards, sizzling 6 furlongs for Brett Calhoun in 1:12 4/5. Tacitus didn't go as fast. He went 50 seconds flat for the half mile, but it may have been equally as impressive. And Improbable working without the blinkers for Bob Baffert, 48 seconds flat in a very quick half mile. Joe Christopak alongside James Scully. James, the action was fast and furious yesterday. We got to see some very important penultimate workouts for not only the Derby, but the Oaks.
Yes, good morning, Joe. Yeah, great first morning of the Derby morning workout show. Got to not only see those 4 workers, we got to see the possible Kentucky Derby favorite gallop a mile and a half in Omaha Beach. Looking forward to watching the Kentucky Oaks work this morning and seeing more Kentucky Derby contenders out on the track exercising.
You and I are on the set. We've got a great view here of the finish line area. And the man who has a great view of the gallop outs in the workout situation is Ed DeRosa. And Ed, a beautiful morning. Good morning to you. And tell us a little bit about what you saw yesterday and how impressed you were.
Yeah, great morning out here, as you said, Joe, and good morning, James. Fast and furious today, probably a little calmer, like the gentle breeze I'm feeling back here. Should be a wonderful morning, as was yesterday. We saw 4 workouts, and I agree with you, by my standards, and Tacitus, certainly the 2 that stood out to me from this vantage point. I had, by my standards, number 1 in my Kentucky Derby rankings. Didn't see anything yesterday from that workout to tell me I'm not on the right horse.
All right, so not a lot of, we'll catch up with Ed a little bit later on. We had some Oaks workers as well. I believe he's going to have Chris Landeros as one of his guests. Looking forward to that. Chance we might see Serengeti Empress work out at 7:30 in the morning as well. And James, as we take a look at the current Kentucky Derby top 20, no changes, 4 horses on the outside looking in, and it's kind of all just a situation where we just want to maintain at this point as we get closer and closer to the first Saturday in May.
Yes, Wood Memorial winner Tacitus leads the Kentucky Derby points leaderboard with 150 points. Right now, the 20th horse in the field has 40 points, and that's also the cutoff. We have another with 40 waiting to get in if there's any defections.
Yeah, Master Fencer getting in via the Japanese road to the Triple Crown. As you see the second page here, we take a look at the 4 horses on the outside looking in, James, and you alluded to it. 40 points. Bodie Express, the maiden, with 40 points off of his runner-up performance in the Florida Derby. And had a lot of very important workouts yesterday. We're going to take a look at all of those here this morning, kind of review what we saw. And the first one we're going to take a look at here is James's Tacitus, winner of the Tampa Bay Derby, winner of the Wood Memorial. And he's on the inside here, working in company with a nice horse by the name of Ballarox. And again, this workout, when you look at it on paper, is 50 seconds flat breezing. Much more impressive than that in the totality of it.
Absolutely. He went very leisurely early. Tacitus is one of the top contenders for this year's Kentucky Derby. We just worked along with his workmate, but once he gets to the completion of this work, he flew home. His workmate could not keep up with him at the wire, and he actually galloped out his next quarter mile faster than he went his opening quarter mile in the work. That's what you want to see from a Kentucky Derby contender. Finish strong in the workouts, gallop out powerfully. Bill Mott, who's looking for his first Kentucky Derby win, has to be thrilled with this move by Tacitus.
Exercise rider Juan and Quintero in the saddle there, and you can see this gallop out, and he's going to gallop out right past Ed DeRosa, who I know is very, very impressed with this move from Tacitus yesterday. And yes, you know, you have your top 10 list. You have your idea of what horses you like a couple of weeks before the Kentucky Derby. But what I see in the mornings definitely is going to affect the way I look at these horses in the afternoon, particularly when you're handicapping the Kentucky Derby. And this is a horse, Ed DeRosa, that looks like he could run all day. And that's certainly important when you're trying to travel 1.25 miles for the first time.
No doubt, Joe. He was certainly running well past the 6 furlongs of the time worked out. We joked that you and James mentioned he had a workmate. From my vantage point, I never would have guessed that Tacitus had a workmate because he was all alone by the time he got to the 6 furlong pole to complete his gallop out. I don't really know the nuance of every workout. I'm not going to pretend to judge all 4 we saw yesterday, but I do think I've seen enough horse flesh to know when I can be wowed, and Tacitus sure did look awesome galloping past me yesterday.
Speaking of being wowed, what about 96-1 in Pool 2 if you've got a ticket on Tacitus, James, as we take a look at the future wager best values based on the odds in the various pools and the various horses?
Yes, and Churchill Downs Director of Communications, Darren Rogers, bet Tacitus in Pool 2 when he was still a maid, and that's very sitting pretty. That price 96-1 is a dream for anybody who likes his chances in Kentucky Derby.
And you have 4 Kentucky Derby future wager pools and 1 for the sires, and the one that's looking good right now is Warfront. He's got 2 major players in the Derby in Omaha Beach and War of Will.
Right, Omaha Beach, the son of Warfront. Both horses bred stoutly on the dam side. Warfront was a turf miler, but Omaha Beach obviously coming in off 2 powerful wins. War of Will won back-to-back preps at Fairgrounds, but looking to rebound from a disappointing effort in Louisiana Derby.
A horse who is coming into this race on a 2-race losing streak is Improbable, but he's lost to some really good horses in both the Rebel and the Arkansas Derby, and he works back here, James, 9 days off of the runner-up performance at Oaklawn Park. He goes a 1/2 mile in 48 seconds flat. Tell us what you see here.
Yeah, he definitely didn't do too much. I like the way he moved in the stretch, went pretty smooth to the wire. You can see he's got a big white blaze like Justify. He's co-owned by WinStar and China Horse Racing Club. Those are the same connections as last year's Triple Crown Kentucky Derby winner Justify. And Bob Baffert, he's one of 3 horses for the 5-time Kentucky Derby winner, trying to tie Ben Jones with a 6-1 this year.
Now, Improbable wore blinkers in the Arkansas Derby, was very fractious in the starting gate. It got a little bit dicey, but he works without the blinkers here, and it looked like he will run without the blinkers in the Kentucky Derby. And following the work, we caught up with trainer Bob Baffert.
Comfortable with the racetrack,
Well, he went nice, just cruised around there. He's happy, and a horse that just ran and he shipped twice. He doesn't look like a horse. He really looks great. He looks fantastic, and so he's, he can't throw him out. He'll come back and work probably in the weekend. So he'll just gallop and he'll have one more breeze, maybe Sunday, maybe.
Bob Baffert, a surprise visitor to Churchill Downs on his way to the Ocala 2-year-old and training sale. Well timed. He got a chance to see Improbable work, and he certainly did do nice work yesterday. Bob's very happy, and this is a horse who already has an impressive win over this racetrack.
He does. He won the Street Sense on Breeders' Cup Friday. It was an undercard race. That was his second start. He won it by 7.5 lengths, finished powerfully that day. It was a 1-turn mile, but he's by City Zip, but out of an AP Indy mare, some stamina on that female side, and, ran second in both preps this year, looking to move forward in the Kentucky Derby.
One of the great stories for the Kentucky Derby this year, potentially, and he hasn't been confirmed as the rider, is John Cord. Could be the oldest rider to ever ride a horse in the Derby at the age of 58. Long Range Toddy is his potential mount. He has been aboard this horse in his last few races, and Long Range Toddy had a workout yesterday going 5 furlongs in 102 3/5. And it was just that typical Steve Asmussen maintenance work.
Right. He wants to get in a 5 furlong work, the penultimate work, and then he'll come back with a maintenance 1/2 mile breeze next weekend. And Long Range Toddy, definitely a horse that was moving forward this spring when he won the first division of the Rebel over Improbable. Will have to rebound off a disappointing sixth-place effort in the Arkansas Derby. May not have cared for the slop. But you mentioned it, Steve Asmussen. He's won every big race out there except for the Kentucky Derby. That's one thing he'd love to do.
Yeah, again, that workout time should be 102.60, which is 102 and 3/5. And again, this is what Steve Asmussen does. You see the exercise rider there, Wilson Fabian, not even moving his hands. It's a good, strong 5 furlong workout, but it's done well in hand. Gallop out time 116 and 1/5. And I love the way this horse ran in the Rebel, James. Caught a sloppy racetrack in the Arkansas Derby. He is going to have his form darkened by that poor performance. And I got a feeling he could be a long shot worth considering on the first Saturday in May. You mentioned this earlier. Hall of Fame trainers seeking their first win in the Kentucky Derby. These are some big names, James.
Very big names, and it wouldn't be no surprise. Definitely Bill Mott and Richard Mandela have top contenders this year. Steve Asmussen, like we said, with Long Range Toddy. He's going to be a little bit of a long shot, but he's one of several long shots in this year's field that deserves consideration, Joe.
Long Range Toddy's kind of a little bit similar to Looking at Lee. Could be that exacta filler at a big price because this is a horse that most likely is going to be running late. And prior to his poor performance in the Arkansas Derby, was a very consistent individual. Maybe we saved the best for last from the Monday workouts yesterday. By my standards, we talked about this horse, James, being an absolute beast. He's been here at Churchill for several weeks now since his upset victory in the Louisiana Derby. Half-mile workouts leading up to this, Brett Calhoun wanted a little bit more from this workout.
Yeah, and he's drawing rave reviews from Clockers here. This is his third workout at Churchill Downs. He's coming off a 6-week layoff from the Louisiana Derby, by my standards so it's a little bit more time than a lot of horses in the field are coming back from. So Brett Calhoun talked about on yesterday's show, he wanted a stiff work in the horse, and he got it. Really finished pretty quick here in the lane. Definitely a dark horse to consider that because he likes the track so much or is liking it so much in the morning works.
Gabriel Sy is aboard here for Brett Calhoun, which I like to see. Gabe gave this horse a tremendous ride in the Louisiana Derby. Owner Chester Thomas, very loyal to Gabriel Sy. Brett Calhoun, a trainer, and we'll take a look at some of the others who will be looking at their first Kentucky Derby experience as far as putting a horse in the starting gate on the first Saturday in May. And Chester Thomas, what a great owner. He's a Kentucky native. He loves horse racing. He's very well informed, and we caught up with him.
Wow, he just kind of loped around there. He looked like he did it so easy, looking good. I mean, he looks pretty nice. I didn't get a chance to look at the other horses, but I look forward to doing that next week and so see what we're up against. But there's some nice horses in there, and it takes a ton of luck to get around there in a good trip. So just keeping our fingers crossed. We've been coming to Derby for years. In fact, after last year, my wife and I thought we'd take a break. And in fact, we wanted to opt to go to the Jazz Fest this year. And you had the Stones and a bunch of good names. We'll give the Derby a break until we get a horse in the Derby. We're going to chill out. Well, we didn't even get a year off, so that's great. You know, we're Kentuckians, and to be in this spot, you can't put it in words. It's quite an honor, very humbling, excited, just wish it was today.
I had a chance to meet Chester Thomas when I worked at Ellis Park doing the TV there a couple of summers ago. Gotten to know him very well since. He's, as you can see by that interview, he's a great guy. He loves the game. He puts a lot back into it. He's very generous with the horse people. He's a part of our horse racing community here in Kentucky, and honestly, it would be great to see him win it.
Yeah, and a big client of Brett Calhoun. Local fans know Brett Calhoun, a trainer by my standards. He's based in the Midwest, and he's won Breeders' Cup races but never had a starter.
That is a good segue, James, into the trainers that have not started a horse in the Derby as of yet. Brett Calhoun over 3,000 wins, like you mentioned, with By My Standards. Brendan Walsh, an up-and-coming trainer here in Kentucky, also campaigns horses at Saratoga Fairgrounds, etc. Brendan Walsh with a Plusquet Parfait, who worked in the fog on Sunday.
Yeah, don't know the Japanese trainer, Joe, but the other three, Calhoun, Walsh, and Gargan, all well-respected horsemen.
And of course, you see the Japanese trainer there with Master Fencer as well. The Kentucky Derby workouts from yesterday. We saw some impressive ones. There were some impressive Oaks horses as well as we take a look at the list of the top Oaks horses. And again, 14 horses in the Oaks, 20 in the Derby. Bellafina, she is going to be likely the odds-on favorite. But, James, there's been a lot of hype about Champagne Anyone, a lot of hype about Street Band, Serengeti Empress, if she's on her A game, which we saw in the Rachel Alexandra at Fairgrounds 2 races ago. She would be a major player as well. I think the Oaks is a little bit deeper than Bellafina this year.
Yeah, definitely, and you're right. Bellafina is the big towering presence in the race. She's going to ship in from California early next week.
Let's take a look at the workout times. Champagne Anyone with a blistering 59 3/5 yesterday. Cookie Dough at Gulfstream, blistering 57-4. And Street Band with Sophie Doyle aboard for Larry Jones, 1 minute and 4/5. And speaking of Champagne Anyone, Ed DeRosa standing by with her jockey. Ed.
Landeros, jockey of Champagne Anyone. Chris, how'd she feel yesterday?
She's doing good. She felt good. She's running on all 4 cylinders, and she's a happy horse, and I mean, that's all we can ask for.
Yeah, you've been on her every race of her career, including her last win in the Gulfstream Park Oaks. A little closer to the pace that day. We have video of that race. Talk us through how she felt that day. Was the strategy to be closer to the front, or was she just into the bit for you?
Well, we put blinkers on her. We wanted her to focus up a little bit and get a little more into it instead of me kind of chasing on her down the backside. And her works prior to that were very forward, so I knew that she'd show a little bit more speed to be where I was. I didn't really have a plan. She just kind of put me there, so I went along with it. It worked out good, and she's been taking the right steps.
Have you talked with Ian Wilkes, her trainer, about the strategy for the Oaks?
Not yet. I mean, I think right now we're just trying to get there. You know, one day at a time, one step at a time. Come, you know, when we're entered and we have a kind of idea what our post is, then we'll kind of go for the game plan.
Yeah, and speaking of Ian Wilkes, he's also your father-in-law. Does that add anything to the equation for you? Any pressure?
No, not really. I mean, business is business and family is family. They're two separate things. We have a great work relationship and great family relationship. We know how to not intertwine the two and keep them separated and just focus on what we need to do, for work and have fun at night.
Yeah, fun's good. Speaking of fun at night, I know you had a nice meal yesterday at Jeff Ruby. Is that the way you like to start your build up to the Oaks?
Yeah, I had a buddy of mine. He owed me, so it was a good night.
Even better when they owe. This filly's by Street Sense, who I know the trainer probably had some association with Carl Nafsker, training to a Kentucky Derby victory. Has he said anything about him and what he's passed on to this filly?
Mr. Carl was out actually yesterday for the work, and I mean, it's pretty. I'm sure it's pretty special, because he trained Street Sense and for his offspring to come out and do like what she's doing now. I mean, I'm sure that's a special moment, but I think he sees similarities, but I think they're a little different as well. So he'll pass some stuff on to me, but it's pretty cool to hear the insights.
Yeah, no doubt. You've been on this filly every race of her career. What's the biggest progression you felt from that career debut now to a graded stakes winner and one of the contenders in the Oaks?
Well, she's getting stronger, more confident. She has an idea what she's doing now. Before, she just won on pure talent. I mean, she had no idea what to do, when to turn it on, turn it off. She just won because she just was very talented. And Ian and I knew that. And now, the transition from 2 to 3 has been just amazing. Her mentality and, like I said, she's just getting stronger every race, every week. She's training. So I think the sky's the limit, and we just haven't seen the best yet.
Have you scouted Bellafina yet?
I have not.
No. All right. Well, we'll definitely be eager to get a look at her on the track. Your filly certainly looked great on the track as well. Couldn't get you out of here leading up to the Derby, though, without your pick for the run for the Roses the next day.
I hope I get him out first, so I'm not going to say too much.
Okay.
But I don't know. I was impressed by Improbable yesterday. He looked good.
All right. Well, yeah, Mount always nice, so good to play political. But more importantly, we really appreciate the time and best of luck with Champagne Anyone.
Thank you.
All right, Joe. Chris Landeros, jockey of Champagne Anyone. Looked good working yesterday.
Good to be Chris Landeros these days. He and his wife Shelby just welcomed their second son Rory to the world about a month and a half ago. He's got a live mount in the Kentucky Oaks, obviously, for his father-in-law, Ian Wilkes, and just good people. Again, you know, we get to know a lot of people here working at Churchill Downs, working across the country. We root for everybody. We want safe trips. We want positive results, but I would love to see Ian, Chris, Shelby, the whole family win a Kentucky Oaks. That'd be cool.
And I'll say this about Champaign anyone, Joe. I thought that was a sensational work yesterday. Looking at the time, she came out real early, but finished her last eighth of a mile in 11-2. That filly is 2 for 3 at 2 turns. Comes off a real nice win in Florida. She's by street sense, like Joe said. She's out of a Ghost Zapper mare, and we talked about it yesterday. Ghost Zapper is the broodmare sire of Justify. So the pedigree's there. She's definitely a 2-turn horse, and she's moving forward, it looks like.
Another local that we're going to root for is Sophie Doyle. She's riding Street Band. She's going to join us on the work show tomorrow morning. But that one had a nice 5-furlong breeze as well for Larry Jones, and we caught up with assistant trainer Corey York to tell us about it.
She went well. She a little more relaxed than last week. Last week she was a little fresh, being her first work since the race. But no, she's perfect on schedule, just dragging Sophie around, she said, and didn't have to ask her for much. So got one more to go, and then we're good. We will let her, stretch it a little more out, before the Oaks, obviously. But no, we don't want nothing to change. She's doing good right now. Just one more work, and then just hope everything stays good for another 2 weeks.
That is Corey York, assistant trainer to Larry Jones, and Larry Jones knows a thing or two about winning the Kentucky Oaks.
Oh, yeah, three Kentucky Oaks winners. He's trained at, I think, a Hall of Famer as well, and Street Band is another filly with a progressing form. She wasn't much of a factor in our next to last prep in the Rachel Alexander, but it was easy to come away impressed with that romping win in the Fairgrounds Oaks. Definitely coming in on the upswing, and she's got a chance at least for it to hit the board, you would think.
Whether you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, the Kentucky Derby website, we welcome you. All over the country, all over the world. We want you to participate in this show by asking questions. James and I and Ed are going to get to those social media questions a little bit later on in this broadcast. So feel free to ask. Feel free to give us your opinions on who you like in the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby as well. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, we've got the exclusive Kentucky Derby and Oaks training period from 7:30 to 7:45. We're also going to catch up with this man. He might be training the favorite in this year's Kentucky Oaks, Omaha Beach, Nick Mandela. We'll be right back.
With TwinSpires.com, you can bet the Kentucky Derby, place legal wagers, and watch live horse racing on any device. New players download now to start your $100 sign-up bonus. Sign up, play, and win today. With TwinSpires.com, you can bet the Kentucky Derby, place legal wagers, and watch live horse racing on any device. New players download now to start your $100 sign-up bonus. Sign up, play, and win today.
We are back on the Kentucky Derby morning workout show. We're just about 7 minutes away from the Oaks and Derby contenders stepping out on the racetrack for their Tuesday morning exercise. Joe Christopher alongside James Scully, Ed DeRosa joining us on the backstretch, and talked about a lot of horses who could potentially be the favorite for the Kentucky Derby. I think most people are leaning towards Omaha Beach at this point off of his wins in the Rebel and the Arkansas Derby. James, we had an opportunity to see him gallop yesterday, and man, the horse flesh that we're looking at, his neck is bowed. He wants to go, but he's in control. A lot of it's been talked about the quarter crack, which has not been an issue since he broke his maiden. You know, they're working on it. hasn't been an issue in his races whatsoever. This is just a specimen we're looking at right here.
Outstanding and physical impression right here from the horse. Yeah, definitely feeling good, looking great with his head bowed on the track. Took him 5 starts to break his maiden. Came on really strong in the last 2 races at Oaklawn. Beat 2 of Bob Baffert's top contenders in those races. So a lot of things in the positive for Omaha Beach coming in the Derby.
Yeah, no doubt. Richard Mandela, the trainer, a Hall of Famer. He is 0 for 6 in the Kentucky Derby. Soul of the Matter, his best finish in 1994. He hasn't even had a horse in the race since 2004, but we caught up with him.
I thought he's in good shape. We had our man come out from California, put new shoes on, and got him all fancied up and ready to go. You know, we gave him an easy week because he shipped to Arkansas and then shipped up here and gave him a chance to recover, and he's paying us back for it. He looks great.
I've been getting on Omaha for about 5 months now. He's a joy to be around for sure. I just keep him relaxed and keep him enjoying his job. He does the rest. He's so professional. He just loves to go out there and gallop. It does seem like he is getting a little more confident in himself. He just walks around with confidence now, a little more than he was before. I think being at new places, he's starting to get used to being in new places now.
I plan to give him a nice work on the weekend. I don't know if it'd be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll just get down another day or two and we'll figure it out more. But he'll just need one good work before we go. He's had enough.
Dick Mandela, one of the all-time greats. Mentioned hasn't had a horse in the Derby since 2004, James, but he's got 9 Breeders' Cup wins. He's one of the greatest of all time. Omaha Beach started as a turf horse and by accident kind of wound up on the dirt, and he's never looked back. He's never looked better.
Yeah, and Richard Mandela said because he was by Warfront, that's why he ran him on turf early. It took him like 4 races to realize he was better on dirt, and he's it really come on strong in those last 3 dirt starts, actually 4 dirt starts, a second, then 3 wins in a row. And we can see on the track, I mean, he's just a great presence out there, looks fantastic. That exercise rider, Taylor, was huge on him.
Yeah, right. James and I have been impressed with Omaha Beach. James is considering him as one of his potential top selections in the race, and curious to see and hear what you think, Ed, about Omaha Beach. Obviously, he has the connections to get it done, and he couldn't look better in the flesh.
Yeah, agree on both those 2 points, Joe. I do have to put my handicapper hat on, though, and say as one of the favorites, probably the favorite, he has not been fast enough on the Brisnet scale speed ratings. He's yet to crack 100. So when we're talking in terms of a horse being 5 or 6 to 1 in this competitive group, I'm looking forward to betting against. And Richard Mandela also has a John Sadler-like stat. He's winless in Grade 1 races at Churchill Downs. We know that John finally broke that streak in the Breeders' Cup Classic right here with Accelerate last year. So maybe Mandela gets off the schneid as well. But there are definitely some variables conspiring against for me at a shortish price.
Well, thanks, Ed. And, not everybody can be here at Churchill Downs for the Kentucky Derby. There will be about 170,000. But if you're throwing a party at home, get the program. You can buy them online, distribute them to your guests at the party. Even if you're just watching at home, on NBC, and you're just enjoying it with your family, you can have the official Kentucky Derby program, and you can purchase that online. So order that now. Have it in plenty of time for the Run for the Roses, the official Kentucky Derby program. Derby and Oaks workouts, the designated time coming up next here on the Workout Show. And following that, we're going to answer some questions via social media. So pop them into the queue on Facebook, Twitter, also the Kentucky Derby website and Instagram as well. That live training period coming up next. We'll be right back in just a few.
With TwinSpires.com, you can bet the Kentucky Derby, place legal wagers, and watch live horse racing on any device. New players download now to start your $100 sign-up bonus. Sign up, play, and win today.
Every time I come to the track, safety is my #1 concern. Ahead of every big race, I always take great care to prepare myself and my horse for a safe trip around the track. So know your limits, and if you do decide to drink, make sure you designate a driver to get you home safely. Never miss a moment.
With TwinSpires.com, you can bet the Kentucky Derby, place legal wagers, and watch live horse racing on any device. New players download now to start your $100 sign-up bonus. Sign up, play, and win today.
We're back on the Kentucky Derby and Oaks workout show, and the featured horse today is going to be this gal wearing the pink saddle towel, designating that she is a potential Oaks horse, Serengeti Empress, trained by Tom Amos, and she was a monstrous winner, winning the Rachel Alexandra at the fairgrounds in Rachel Alexandra-like fashion. Didn't go as well in the Fairgrounds Oaks. She showed speed and faded, had a little bit of a breathing issue in that particular race. James, Amos is not committed to running her in the Kentucky Oaks. He has said, we want to see how she trains. We know that she's as good as anybody when she's right. We want to make sure she's right.
Right, and after that race in the Fairgrounds Oaks, they gave her a little time, but she is back. She's already had a work over the track here. Like you said, Joe, these will be important works that determining whether she does run in the Oaks. But everything looks like right now the plan is to run, and she's going to be a forward factor in the Oaks. She's got good speed, Serengeti Empress.
James, she was number one on my Oaks list going into the Fairgrounds Oaks, and then obviously she had that breathing issue in that particular race, which held her back from putting her best hoof forward. But this is a horse that won the Ellis Park Debutante by 13. She won the Pocahontas at Churchill. I remember standing out there. It was like a public workout under wraps by 19 lengths. She won off the bench, the Rachel Alexandra, by 4.5. Probably could have won by more. She's looking good on the racetrack here. If she puts in a good work this morning, I'm going to pay particular attention, and she might move right back up my list because I know when she brings her A game, she's good enough to win it.
Right, and those races you referenced, that one of them came here at Churchill Downs, which looks like an advantage for her. And there's not a lot of pace, per se, in the Oaks field. Obviously, Jaywalk, the champion two-year-old filly, has some. But if she draws anywhere inside, I fully expect her to be on the lead early if she does run in the Oaks race. And look for her to work well. She's been doing really well here in the recent weeks, according to Tom Amos.
There was some talk that she might work at 5:30 in the morning. Okay, the fact that she's out here at 7:30, she's wearing her Oaks towel, I think is a really good sign. We're going to take a look at Plus de Parfait here, who had a work that nobody really saw on Sunday. Brendan Walsh not trying to hide anything. There were no published workout on Sunday, James, because the clockers couldn't see anything. It was like a bowl of fog here at Churchill Downs. Plus de Parfait coming in off that victorious effort in the UAE Derby where he put blinkers on for the first time.
Put blinkers on the first time and bounced back big time from a disappointing effort in the Risen Star. Plus de Parfait broke his maiden last fall, ran a next second in the Kentucky Jockey Club. Didn't go well, but he's coming into form at the right time for Brendan Walsh.
Now, James, with Serengeti Empress, she's had a couple of works back since the disappointment in the Fairgrounds Oaks. What are you looking for from her today? We know she's fast. We want to see her relax. We want to see her have a good, even workout. But what is Tom Amos going to need to see to tell him that he's going to run her in the Oaks? I mean, this is obviously a very, very important workout for her.
Well, I think Tom Amos will be looking for a controlled, fast work where she does it easy and within herself. She's been a good worker throughout her career, and so it would be no surprise to see her do again today.
We'll see that workout in just a couple of moments. Bill Mott with Tacitus, but he also has this late-running Country House, who has been hitting the board in graded stakes competition recently, is going to try to pick up as many pieces as possible from off the pace. And there he is on the racetrack there, and again, making a nice appearance.
Yeah, Country House is definitely one. Like Joe said, he rallied. He was the only horse that really made any impact from off the pace in the Arkansas Derby. He's a confirmed one-run closer. He'll be in the back quarter of the field and look to come running strong. And you could see where he's got like some upside still to him. He's lightly raced, and his last effort was pretty solid.
His birthday to become a 3-year-old isn't until after the Kentucky Derby, a late foal. The last time we saw a Kentucky Derby winner not quite be 3 years old before the Derby and win it. Mind That Bird.
Mind That Bird, and actually Thunder Gulch is the only other May foal to win the Derby in the last 30 years. So that is a little bit of a concern. Florida Derby winner Maximum Security is a May foal as well. But, you know, to me, you can't put too much stock in that factor, Joe. It's more about the horse.
Yeah, no doubt. Bill Mott, we mentioned the fact that he is winless in the Derby, 0 for 8, James. Surprisingly, his best finish was actually last year when he finished 7th with Hofburg. And Hofburg was a little bit similar to Tacitus, had a lot of hype going into the Derby despite being very lightly raced.
Right, and Hofburg was a good-looking chestnut, similar to Country House, and big, powerful horse. And you can see, I mean, Country House, well-built individual, and, you know, he's got a little bit of the same run style as well, a one-run closer.
We're not going to see a ton of activity on the racetrack today, James, because we saw several Kentucky Derby and Oaks horses work yesterday. And what happens after they have a workout is normally the next day, and some trainers will elect to jog, but most will just walk the shed row. They had, you know, serious exercise the day before, want to give them that opportunity to bounce back from that. Out for a spin, coming out here on the racetrack, one of the Oaks horses that did not work yesterday for Dallas Stewart. But yes, walk day, the racetrack tomorrow is going to be a lot more active with more horses on it.
Yes, and that's standard operating procedure. Absolutely, the day after a breeze, a workout, give them a day off. You're going to still, like, you know, get out and walk them extensively to keep them, because they're so fit and in shape. But yeah, just so you know, it's a progression, and then they'll be back on the track ideally 2 days later.
Out for a spin is out for a spin. This is the upset winner of the Ashland. Surprised me, James. I saw her Breaker Maiden at Fairgrounds. I thought she did it against a little bit better than average field that day. But this is the kind of year where we're seeing some of these Oaks horses, Champagne Anyone being an example, Street Boss being an example, that are taking major steps forward as the weeks go on here in the springtime.
Right, and Out for a Spin, trained by Dallas Stewart, who won the Kentucky Oaks with Lemons Forever at a big price, and he'll try to do the same thing this year with Out for a Spin. She's going to probably be double-digit odds off that upset win in the Ashland. She led wire to wire there. She'll be forwardly placed in the Kentucky Oaks field for Dallas. Paco Lopez rode her last time. I think he's be back on her, and she looks good out there galloping on the track, Joe.
Yeah, certainly a progressive sort, as we mentioned. Out for a Spin, a Kentucky Oaks horse, as is Serengeti Empress, and she's kind of the headliner today. She is the only horse that we're going to see work here this morning, and it's a very important workout for Serengeti Empress. I believe an $80,000 purchase for trainer Tom Amos by Alternation, who isn't exactly one of those stallions that jumps off the page in the registry. But Tom doing an excellent job picking her out, doing an excellent job training her, has the utmost confidence in her when she's 100% herself. And we'll see if she's getting back to that, maybe a little bit more of a clue based on this workout here this morning.
Yeah, and she's on her toes right now. Look, you can see, I mean, she's an athletic-looking filly, and look, eager to see how she performs out here today. I would expect her to work well and continue, like we were saying, towards the Kentucky Oaks.
She's had some romping performances in her victories, James. She was one of the favorites in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies on this racetrack, but she had some trouble into the first turn. She was taken back. She was taken out of her game, so to speak, and she never really recovered from that day.
Right, and it's a handicapper or better. It's a little bit of a liability when a horse is pretty much pigeonholed into one style, and for sure, Serengeti Empress has run her best races on the lead. She hasn't run as well in stake races where she didn't make the early lead. So she's going to be sent hard from the gate, one would figure, in the Kentucky Oaks. I'm not sure who her jockey is so far. James Graham was up on her last time. If he retains the mount, she'll be going early.
Yeah, you mentioned the speed in the Oaks. I mean, you mentioned Jaywalk, but Motion of Motion for Tom Van Berg, that is a definite confirmed front-running type as well. So if Serengeti Empress does go into the Oaks, certainly going to add to the early proceedings up front. You would think Bellafina, the likely favorite with a good break from the gate, probably sits in a perfect stalking position.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's definitely not going to be too far back. A lot of these horses either want to be up front or sitting close to the pace.
Restless Rider off of her runner-up performance, Out for a Spin, will be one of the favorites in the Oaks as well. Very curious to see if Ken McPeak decides to add blinkers for the Oaks. She really seemed to have hung a little bit in the Goldenrod and the Ashland. Again, talking about Restless Rider, but looking at Serengeti Empress, who James is getting closer to that scheduled workout here this morning.
Right, and she's like right now going into the far turn, or going through the far turn right now. Expect exercise rider to let her go into the stretch. She'll gallop around and then put in a breeze.
Yeah, they come out on the racetrack. Obviously, she's being ponied right now. They want to keep the horses as relaxed as possible leading into the work. The horses will tend to get a little bit, excited about the fact that they're going to be let loose. And, that's all part of the strategy leading into an important move like this.
Right, absolutely. I mean, the horses know the routine. They know, and this one thing about the build-up to Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks, there's a lot of excitement, even at this almost 2 weeks out from the race on the backstretch and on the stands. And yeah, like I said, they know the drill. She knows she's getting ready to put in a solid exercise, and she looks ready to go.
Yeah, I'm curious who else is on the racetrack besides Serengeti Empress. We saw Out for a Spin. We saw Pluska Parfait, mentioning earlier that a lot of horses worked yesterday, so we're not going to see a ton of action on the racetrack as far as number of horses and activity here this morning. Serengeti Empress, though, is the headliner because she's going to have a workout here in just a couple of moments.
Right, and it's going to be a big one, as you referenced. She's still on the fence, but it looks like all systems are go for her to run if she works well today and continues on that same path.
Yeah, Tom Amos is one of those trainers that is going to be very honest, but he's also going to be a little bit coy, and he's also going to do what he feels is best. And when we got word yesterday that Serengeti Empress was going to work today, there was a chance it was going to be at 5:30. There was also a chance it was going to be at 7:30. The fact that she's coming out at 7:30 with the Oaks towel on, Tom has done these workout shows before.
Right.
Tom has done television. He's very media savvy. The fact that he's letting her work on this broadcast leads me to believe that he's comfortable with where she's at, and that if she works well today, that he's going to drop her name in the entry box on Monday.
Right, and absolutely thrilled that she's out here now during this period instead of early at 5:30 in the morning when we don't have we wouldn't be here to watch it. So here she goes, being let go from the pony and beginning her drill.
Yeah, and you can tell right away here, trying to, ease her off into the turn here, and it looks like they're going to let her roll a little bit here.
Right.
Maybe test her, but I got a feeling we're going to see a pretty quick time on the stopwatch and getting some unplanned company here. She actually has a little bit of a target to work with, which I find interesting. And I think this might be by design, James, because that is not an Oaks or Derby horse. So this is another Tom Amos trainee. So it looks like he's giving Serengeti Empress a target. It'll be interesting to see if he goes inside or outside of this work make here on the turn, and how both of these horses finish up, particularly the Oaks contender.
Right, and you can see the rider on Serengeti Empress hasn't even moved his hands much at all. She's doing it all pretty much on her own. Looks good here. Running, got her head, looks good. Looks like she's happy and has good energy to the wire.
Well, I'm not sure who the workmate is, but the workmate is overmatched. The workmate is under a drive there. Serengeti Empress hitting that target, going past the target, and galloping out well into the turn. And this has got to be a workout that impresses not only the public, those of us watching it, but most importantly, Joel Politi, the owner, and Tom Amos, the trainer. This was a nice drill.
Right, and she's continuing on very good into the back stretch. Looks very happy, well within herself, and still motoring a little bit. Definitely expect this race to come back. This work to come back fast. One of the faster workers of the day, potentially.
Yeah, most definitely, and we'll be getting those workout times from our media department, Kevin Kirstein and Darren Rogers, Derby Media. On Twitter, always the best place to follow if you're looking for those Kentucky Oaks and Kentucky Derby workout times. Just moments after those works are completed. Also, great news and notes coming out of our media department each and every day here at Churchill Downs. So a very good work by Serengeti Empress, James. I was impressed. it kind of adds a little bit of excitement to the potential Oaks field because, like I said, when she's right, she's best. And I just got the workout time from Kevin Kirstein. No surprise, 58-1 for
fast.
5 furlongs. It looked fast. It was fast. That's Serengeti Empress with that workout. Omaha Beach, a lot of people looking forward to seeing him on the racetrack again today, and he looked great in the gallop yesterday. Again, you can see the exercise rider there. We got a chance to talk to him a little bit earlier, Taylor Canberra. And Omaha Beach, petting the horse on the track, just kind of jogging away from there, taking in the surroundings, appears to have acclimated very well and feeling extremely comfortable here under the Twin Spires.
Absolutely, and fitness won't be an issue for Omaha Beach. He's already raced 4 times this year at Kentucky Derby, but his 5th start of 2019. The last horse to race 4 times at 3 before the Derby was Smarty Jones in 04. But it's no matter because he was still a maiden entering this year. He needed those races. I'm not worried about him being over-raced by any stretch. And he may work on Friday. Mike Smith said yesterday that he was flying to Louisville on Thursday for a Friday workout on Omaha Beach. So we'll see if those plans hold.
Well, James, I lied. There's a horse that worked yesterday on the track. Every trainer has a different program. Bill Mott sometimes, or most of the time, likes to send him to the track the day after a work, particularly if they're doing well. Tacitus isn't going to do anything.
No.
He's schooled. We're being told he's schooled at the gate, and we do have that on tape, and we would like to see that. Yes, this is all part of the education process, James. Tacitus has been in the starting gate many, many times, not here at Churchill, but in typical Bill Mott fashion, not leaving any stone unturned.
No, not leaving any stone unturned. And, in the Wood Memorial, he broke from an inside post. He overcame a rough trip early, but definitely want to get him used to his surroundings. He's only raced 4 times, Tacitus, so it's always a good training method to take him to the starting gate here at Churchill Downs, put him in there, back him out, get him comfortable with his surroundings. He's a horse that's just going to jog today since he did breeze yesterday. Real easy. We won't see too much from Tacitus, but a very good sign. Bill Mott said yesterday after the work that he seems to be improving, and I think that he was playing it coy a little bit. I think he was extremely pumped with that workout yesterday, and this is a great sign that he brought him back out to the track today.
Yeah, you don't see Bill Mott showing a lot of emotion, but you can tell, and there's Omaha Beach. We do believe schooling at the gate as well. James, again, this is all part of the process, and not only part of the process for the Derby and Oaks contenders to get a little schooling, but for the gate crew here at Churchill to also get familiar with these horses. You want the gate crew to be familiar with as many horses, if not all of them, as possible. But this is an important horse race, the Kentucky Derby, needless to say. So you want to make sure that everybody can get as fair a start as possible.
Right, and that's a great point, Joe. This gate crew has 20 horses to load. They're double loading them. They want to have a little bit of familiarity with every horse to know which ones need some assistance, which ones are well situated to handle going into a starting gate. And the Derby, the experience itself, the Mile Kentucky home and the post parade, it's quite an atmosphere. So there's a lot of it can be a lot of nerves involved going into the starting gate, and this is just part of the preparation for both the horse and the crew.
And there you see Omaha Beach kind of sort of breaking out of there. And again, this is a very smart, intelligent horse. You're able to do those kind of things with a horse like this. You couldn't do that with every horse, obviously, breaking from the gate like that while basically handling the horse at the same time. But, this horse is the total package. He has some speed. He has stamina. He is game.
Right.
He's smart. He's got great connections behind him. He checks all the boxes.
He does check all the boxes, and that you mentioned speed, and that's a good point. He does have the ability to make his own trip in a 20-horse field. That can be an advantage. I think Ed referenced it earlier. He has an E-running style, and there's only, I think, really three pace setter candidates in the field: Omaha Beach, Vekoma, and Maximum Security. If somebody else is setting the pace, it will be a surprise to me. It remains possible, but I definitely certainly expect Omaha Beach to be forward, and I think that's why Mike Smith elected to ride him over Roadster. He knows in both the Rebel and the Arkansas Derby, he gave him a little nudge going in the far turn. He opened some separation on the rest of the field. That kind of move, we saw Justified do it last year in the Kentucky Derby. That kind of move can win the race on the far turn often, and he's got that potential run style to take advantage of that.
And great quotes from Bob Baffert yesterday about Mike Smith picking Omaha Beach over Roadster. This is a guy that put Mike Smith on a Triple Crown winner last year in Justify. But Bob basically said, I love Mike. He's a great person. He doesn't want Mike thinking about Omaha Beach if he's riding Roadster. And, he said to him, if you want to ride that horse, go ahead and do it. He also said you might have to answer to Jill, which I thought was a very funny comment, but true at the same time. But just great comments from Bob Baffert. A lot of relationships, and Chris Landeros mentioned this earlier, family, professional. We're a big community of people here. We've had relationships over a long period of time, particularly Mike Smith and Bob Baffert.
Right.
And in other words, to just put it in a couple of words, Bob's not going to hold it against Mike.
Not going to hold it against him. He said he didn't want him to be riding his horse and thinking about the other horse.
Right.
So, Mike Smith, you have to take it into account that he picked Omaha Beach, but sometimes jockeys don't make the right decision. John Velasquez rode Verrazano and Orb in their final prep in 2013. He selected to ride Verrazano. Orb won the race. So, to me, he had a really difficult choice where both horses have a good chance to win the Kentucky Derby. It doesn't mean he picked the right one.
Johnny V just called. He said, thanks, James. And you see Omaha Beach, one of the likely favorites for the Kentucky Derby. And the favorites have won, James, the last 6 years since the point system was instituted. Omaha Beach, a lot of people thinking that he's going to be the favorite this year. He could add his name to that list. We have had some, horses in the 5, 6-1 range as Kentucky Derby favorites over the years. Not all of them have fared as well. Sweet Northern Saint comes to mind. Right. That was the year I believe Smarty Jones won.
Barbaro.
Oh, Barbaro won.
Yeah, Barbaro was the second choice.
Barbaro was the second choice, right. Sweet Northern Saint, I believe, was 7th in that race. But it's a wide open Derby. It's a great betting race. 20 horses. The best betting race of the year, and this year taking it to another extreme with how wide open it's going to be. We saw Serengeti Empress's workout. It was very good. Again, Kevin Kirstein reporting 58 1/5, and Ed DeRosa 58 1/5. That's smoking.
I saw on the monitor back here, Joe, another good look at her galloping out, and she definitely seemed to go on with it. One thing I would point out that I was impressed with is this is a filly certainly capable of taking the race to the competition. We've seen her win gate to wire. We've seen her Blitzfields. You mentioned earlier her big open length victory at Ellis Park. But in this workout, she had a target, and to my eye on the turn looked extremely poised and focused and waited for her cue before blowing by. So I took it as a big positive that trainer Tom Amos wanted the rider to sit behind for a little bit. And I thought the workout was really professional from that standpoint, Joe and James, that she didn't need to go after this filly until she was told she needed to. I think it augurs well for what she would need to do at 9 furlongs in the Oaks, and very eager to hear what Tom Amos says after this workout.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think looking at this video, Serengeti Empress, if I could read her mind, she's thinking, what is this horse doing in front of me?
Yeah, and it's that's a great point. Tom Amos has said before that she doesn't have to have the lead. She can sit off horses. It just hasn't played out that way in her races where she's led wire to wire and all of her wins. But Ed, I thought that was a good analysis by Ed. She waited for her cue to go on and pass her workmate. When she got that cue, she finished very powerfully, fast time, looks great on the gallop out, and thumbs up for that move for Serengeti Empress, Joe.
Yeah, no doubt. She's back, I would have to say. She's back, and Ed said this, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. Getting that commentary from Tom Amos doesn't matter what we think. Mm-hmm. It matters what Tom and Joel Politi, the owner, think, but based on what we saw here today, and again, this work is a little bit less than 2 weeks before the Kentucky Oaks, right? So she'll probably do something real easy next week. But I'm guessing we're going to see her name dropped in the entry box on Monday. The draw for the Oaks is on Monday. The draw for the Kentucky Derby is on Tuesday. The opening night draw here at Churchill Downs, we are racing this coming Saturday, is tomorrow. And man, I couldn't be more excited to dig into those past performances.
I can't either. Dawn's after dark, like Joe said, is Saturday night, opening night. We're going to have a couple stake races on that card, and just excited for all the stake races that come here at Churchill Downs on the first week. We got a bunch of big horses, newspaper record, bricks and mortar, running in undercard races, and we'll be here covering the Derby and Oaks contenders as well. So it's very exciting that the week. Once you get into Kentucky Derby week, there's nothing beats it if you're a horse racing fan.
The most anticipated spring meet here at Churchill Downs that I can remember, maybe the most anticipated ever, with massive purses at every level, and the Kentucky Derby purse now $3 million. The Kentucky Derby, of course, presented by Woodford Reserve. I know Ed DeRosa is a big fan of horses that win the UAE Derby. Ed, this year it's Pluska Parfait. Your thoughts?
My thoughts is he looked pretty good in the mile shoot. I know probably didn't get a good look at him on the live feed because he was sort of hidden back here. But he took a peek. They have another starting gate back here, and he took a peek at that and just got a feel for the dirt under his hooves after working out on Sunday. And it was good to see him back on track. And, Joe, it is interesting. I've lamented UAE Derby horses coming over here and being the hot horse. This is a U.S.-based horse who went over there and doesn't have nearly the buzz we've seen from these UAE types in the past. So Pluska Parfait definitely interests me from that standpoint as finally an under-the-radar UAE horse. And one last thought on Serengeti Empress, Joe. To me, if she were to run in the Oaks, is sort of might give us a hint of War of Will from the Louisiana Derby. Both were big favorites. Both did not run well at Fairgrounds, and now they're coming back looking for a mulligan on Oaks and Derby days. So interesting stuff from New Orleans, interesting stuff from Dubai. A great morning here in Louisville.
Yeah, Ed makes a lot of really good points there, James, about those horses. Serengeti Empress, War of Will, looking to bounce back from disappointing efforts on Louisiana Derby Day. And then Pluska Parfait, a horse that was not impressive at all in Louisiana, goes to Dubai. Brendan Walsh, the connections are from the Middle East. And we're like, okay, well, we got nothing to lose. We're going to go to Dubai. We're hoping for the best. They put blinkers on. And it was a great ride that night by Jose Ortiz.
Right.
And the horse kind of took the next step. We're going to take a look at the UAE Derby. Horses were not closing, James. Gray Magician's going to run a big race as well. He's going to be in the Kentucky Derby.
He's on the outside. Gray Magician. Pluska Parfait is going to rally up the inside there. You can see him in the red hat cutting to the inside there. Ed was right. All these UAE Derby winners we've seen before, Pluska Parfait is the first one based in the U.S. to win the UAE Derby. So he is in a little bit of a different role than previous horses that have shipped over from there. And even last year, Mendelssohn was one of the favorites. Pluska Parfait is going to have a bunch of value. So it is a little bit of a different profile from some of the other ones we've seen.
It's also a lot to ask to go to Dubai and then come back here, get ready for the Kentucky Derby. We've seen horses that have gone there for World Cup night that take a little bit of time. They usually get some time off before they bounce back late summer to re-energize their campaign.
Right, but one thing about Pluska Parfait, another thing is he was based at Churchill Downs last fall as a 2-year-old.
Oh, you remember that well, don't you, James?
I do.
When you barely lost,
ran
cashing a
second
huge
in
ticket.
the Kentucky Jockey Club, a head second in there to Signal Man. So definitely never had a horse like that shipped over to Dubai and run well. And he's going to be a big price. I mean, even though he won that race, I think a lot of people aren't giving him a much of a look. So if you like the way he's looking out on the track, he'll be one to consider for like any exotic wagers.
When horses improve like that, we always look for a reason why they improved. We know the reason why that horse improved. It was the addition of blinkers. And horses that add blinkers in a race like that and improve normally hold that form.
Right.
So how good does that form stack up to the rest of the field? That's kind of what we have to try to evaluate, and it's not easy to evaluate.
Not easy to evaluate. That's a fair point. The competition in the UAE Derby may not have been that strong, but he definitely was a horse that had a rough trip in his first race at the Fairgrounds, just may not have cared for that track, so you want to see a good effort coming into the Kentucky Derby, and he delivered one.
We're going to apologize to everybody in the social media world because we didn't get a chance chance to answer any social media questions today because this was a jam-packed show from start to finish. Looking back at those workouts from yesterday, Serengeti Empress, the activity, all the other elements that we had. So we apologize to you in social media land. We've got those questions. We'll continue to get to them. We've got several more days of the Kentucky Derby workout show. We promise to get to some of those social media questions tomorrow. Kentucky Derby, first Saturday in May, a week from this coming Saturday. And if you can't make it here to Churchill Downs, there are lots of ways to enjoy it. Throw a party at the house, dress up, do a derby pool. There's so many ways to enjoy it at home. And we want you to have the Kentucky Derby official program, and you can order that online. It kind of just adds to the whole feel of the atmosphere when you have the real book with all the people you're going to be enjoying the Kentucky Derby with, friends, family, et cetera, et cetera. Again, buy Kentucky Derby programs online. Well, James, final thoughts. I mean, I was really impressed with Serengeti Empress. It was great to see continued professionalism from Omaha Beach. Got to see a little bit of gate schooling as well. And we're going to see a lot more horses on the racetrack tomorrow. Quickly, give me a final thought.
Yeah, Serengeti Empress looked great. Looks like she's going to be running for sure in the Kentucky Oaks. Love seeing Tacitus return to the track. Omaha Beach making a great impression, is just like he did yesterday.
And as we wrap it up here on the Kentucky Derby Workout Show, let's take a look back at Serengeti Empress with that very impressive workout this morning as she rolls by her stablemate like she's standing still. Have a great day.